This is KGW News at noon.
We start this noon with continuing coverage of that breaking news from the U.S.-Canadian border. The Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls has been closed after authorities say a car exploded on the U.S. side of the border. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich. Right now, it is not clear if this was an accident or an intentional act, but an initial search of the car found no bomb or other explosive device. In a statement posted on X, the FBI's Buffalo, New York office says they're working with state and local authorities to investigate the explosion. The two people inside the car died in the crash. A border official was also hurt, but is expected to survive. A witness says the car was speeding toward the border, then swerved and hit a fence before catching fire. 4 border crossings in that same area are closed as a precaution. We'll update you with more information as soon as we learn it. Now to another big story that we're following this noon. The Thanksgiving travel rush is on. AAA expects more than 55 million Americans to hit the roads this holiday weekend. We've got Rod Hill coming up with your Thanksgiving Day forecast and what the roads will be like. But first, we're taking you to PDX to see how busy it is there. KGW's Thomas Schultz is at the airport right now. So Thomas, what's it looking like?
Well, Christine, there's people continuing to trickle through TSA, but it's not as busy as you might expect. Still, despite somewhat smaller lines than we anticipated, TSA says we're on record to have the busiest travel over the Thanksgiving holiday that they've ever seen. They're expecting to see around 30 million travelers in airports across the country from November 17th all the way until next Tuesday. Now today, the day before Thanksgiving, of course, is one of the busiest of the whole year. TSA says around 3 million people will catch flights today alone. And because it's going to be busy here at PDX, they're urging travelers to get to the airport 2.5 hours before domestic flights, 3 hours for those international flights. We spoke to some people today traveling to Newark, to Indianapolis, a woman even going all the way to New Zealand. And throughout the holiday, PDX is expecting to see almost 250,000 people. That's a big jump from what they saw a year ago. Sunday is expected to be the busiest day as people return home from visiting relatives. And this morning, we got the opportunity to speak to some travelers. For some, it was the first time they got to travel and see their relatives in years.
You know, I think at this time of year, it's just really special to remember how much every day counts. So anytime my parents get to go on a trip, go see family, it's priceless.
Now, you're continuing to see those lines out here, and one of the big things that PDX is urging people to do is make sure that if you're parking a car, check online first instead of coming to the line and seeing what's available. Then you'll be able to see how many spots are available, if you'll even have a spot for your car. And they say, you know what's even easier? Just take the Max down here to PDX if you can. Christine?
Yeah, that's a good reminder. And yep, Max is always a great option. Okay, thank you, Thomas. Before we get to Rod for weather, here's a live look at some of the driving conditions. We're looking at the ODOT cameras at Highway 26 and 217 and also I-5 South at 405. Things looking like they're going pretty smoothly so far. Okay, now to Rod. So what are you tracking for Turkey Day?
Well, a reminder, Christine, I think it's safe to assume that the afternoon commute traffic is going to pick up much sooner today than it normally would. It's a holiday Wednesday, if you will. I do want to point out, Thomas is just at PDX, and he said everything for the time being is moving smoothly. We've got rain off of the East Coast. We've got our little frivolous system producing some light moisture here in the Northwest, and that's it. So the weather absolutely cooperating with travel on this eve of Thanksgiving Day. We still have the clouds over Portland. There's some clearing up to our northwest. What's left of the rain that we had, some really light stuff down around Bend. They have had some snow and elevations out in Baker County. Cannon Beach is not only dry, but starting to see some gradual clearing. I tell you what, once the coast clears today, there is a ton of sun every single day coming to the beach all the way through Sunday. How about that? 50 right now. Portland's at 52. I think our temperature is going to hold fairly steady this afternoon. We will gradually from the northwest see some clearing drop into the area. I do want to point out if you are traveling yet today, there's government camp, 39, 40 degrees. The Cascade Passes remained just wet last night, so there are no issues there. So again, partial clearing expected, a high of 53. All dry this evening, no matter if you're traveling south, north, east, or west in our area. Thumbs up weather-wise. Back to you.
Yeah, that's good news. Okay, thanks, Rod. This morning, teachers and parents rallied outside Portland City Hall, calling for a deal that would end the 3-week-long strike. Teachers at the rally say they're getting tired and they want to get kids back in safer, better equipped classrooms. Both sides seemed close to reaching an agreement on Monday, but the teachers union accused the school board of rejecting part of a proposal. The district says there was concern over student privacy and part of the proposal that would have parents involved in class size decisions.
It's been a roller coaster, right? Because we think, hey, we're ready to go, and then the school board evidently had some issues with what was going on. We thought both sides, we had agreement on both sides, right? And then it got held up again.
Governor Tina Kotek tweeted last night saying her focus is to get educators and students back in school by next Monday. But as of right now, there's no sign that will happen. Yesterday morning, teachers and their supporters blocked traffic on the Burnside Bridge. Some school board members even say vandals damaged their cars. You can see the word shame among other messages. The teachers union has condemned the vandalism. Both sides are continuing to bargain through a mediator today. Stay with KGW for the very latest on the teachers' strike. You can also look for updates on KGW.com and streaming on KGW+. And today, big news out of the Middle East. Some of the hostages Hamas took over a month ago could be returning home soon. Israel has agreed to a 4-day ceasefire with Hamas to facilitate the release of up to 50 hostages. Qatar's chief negotiator says they hope the deal will lead to a larger, hopefully permanent ceasefire. But leaders from both Israel and Hamas released statements saying the pause in fighting does not mean the larger conflict is coming to an end. Here's NBC's Raf Sanchez.
In the early hours of this morning, after a marathon cabinet meeting, the Israeli government approving this deal on the fate of the hostages. This agreement will see 50 women and children released from captivity in Gaza in exchange for 150 Palestinian women and children being held in Israeli prisons. It will also lead to a 4-day ceasefire in the fighting in Gaza. Hamas says that will begin at 10 a.m. local time on Thursday, 3 a.m. Eastern. Israel also agreeing to temporarily suspend drone flights over Gaza for a certain number of hours every day. Now, for the families of the hostages who have been waiting for 6 weeks for good news, these are anxious hours because right now, no one knows exactly who is coming out as part of this hostage deal. We spoke earlier to a man named Gilad. His 3-year-old granddaughter, Yael, is among the hostages in Gaza. He is hopeful that she will be part of this initial 50 to be released, but he says he will not be able to rest easy until she is back in his arms. But his son is also among the hostages, and we know that as a man and as an older man, he will not be released. And so this is an example of the agony facing many of these families, that while they are hopeful they may get some of their loved ones back, there are still going to be many, many more inside of Gaza. For now, the fighting continues. We just spoke to a mother in Gaza. She says she can hear bombing, she can hear shooting continuing, but people in Gaza hoping that this will provide at least some respite after these weeks of war. The U.S. saying that there will be an influx of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip during this ceasefire period. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Back closer to home, Portlanders will soon be able to take magic mushrooms as a form of mental health therapy. The city's first psilocybin facility will open at the beginning of next year. InnerTrek is at the corner of East Burnside and Northeast MLK. The center will be the third in the state, but the first to treat groups of up to a dozen people at once. This comes after voters approved ballot measure 109 back in 2020, legalizing the medicinal use of psilocybin. InnerTrek says right now it has more than 1,000 people on a waiting list. Everyone has to go through an application process and an in-depth screening to ensure that this form of therapy is right for them. According to the Oregon Health Authority, research shows psilocybin can help with depression, anxiety, trauma, and addiction.
There's something, like Tom said, magical. It's really important about witnessing each other and our humanity that deep connection, that healing that comes in a group.
We need help. This is an option for folks that are really struggling, and we can do this right, and we can do this smartly.
A full day group session will run about $850 per person.